There he is.
Good morning, Bhante.
Good morning, Bhante.
Good morning, Bhante.
Good morning, Bhante.
Bhante.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Brian.
Also, morning, Brian. Morning, Bhante.
Good morning, Bhante.
Yeah. And then
Good morning, Bhante. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Bhante.
good morning, Bhante. Okay. Let us start our metta recital. Thank you. Okay, let us begin our metta. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision. Removing desires for sensual pleasures, one comes the way again to birth in the womb. With this metta thought, let us begin our practice. Okay. As usual at this point, let us focus our mind on our breathing without verbalizing or conceptualizing. Just focus your mind on the feeling of the breath that touches your nostrils and reach your lung area. Then the lung expands, chest area, then the lower abdominal area expands. As we breathe out, we notice the abdomen contracting, lung area, chest area contracting, and the breath leaving our nostril. As we keep paying attention, our breath becomes subtler and subtler and subtler. It will not happen very quickly, but it will happen slowly, gradually. So we keep paying attention to it. As the breath becomes subtler, the mind becomes calm, relaxed, peaceful. The body is calm, relaxed, and peaceful. In that state, no greed, no craving can arise, because in quiet, peaceful moment, greed does not arise because it can agitate the mind, make the mind restless. And therefore even that becomes calm, relaxed, and leaves our mind. When greed disappears, again we feel more calm, more relaxed, more peaceful. In that state, our rigidity, uptightness, upset, anger, resentment also fade away. When that fades away, you notice the mind becomes more calm, more relaxed, the breath becomes even subtler. At that time it is possible for us to fall asleep. Sleepiness is very pleasing, enticing, and tempting. So we just don't want to get tempted by sleepiness, drowsiness, and rather arouse our energy. That energy is so powerful, it wakes us up. When it wakes us up, sleepiness disappears, the mind became even calmer and more peaceful. However, when sleepiness fades away, sometimes instead of calm state, the opposite of sleepiness can arise. That is agitation, restlessness, and worry. Restlessness is because we have done something incorrectly, incompletely, but this moment we forget that past, completely forget about the past. Don't ponder over the future. Bring the mind back to the present moment where you find rising and falling of the pure, clean breath. Then your restlessness, worry fades away. What is left is doubt. Doubt also can arise in your own success, sometimes in the method that is called Dhamma. The one who taught us is the Buddha, and his very close, sincere followers who practice the Dhamma. They are called Sangha. So all your doubt regarding the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and yourself, your achievement, fade away because you see the results in your own practice. Friends, all these don't happen in a split second. They happen very gradually, slowly. When I stop talking, when you go into silence, you definitely notice all these things. And then when everything, all these what are called hindrances disappear, mind remains clean and pure. Focus that mind on your experience of rising and falling. You definitely experience, if nothing else, the breath arising and passing away, rising and falling. The feeling that arises with the breath rises and falls. Perception that arises with the breath and the feeling rises and falls. And so forth. All you notice is something or other rising and falling all the time. Stay with that. Then as mind gets even subtler, you notice you are nothing but rising and falling. Entire your personality, you experience rising and falling to the universal rhythm. With this, I stop talking. Let us continue this practice for a short period. After that, you can ask me questions. dukkhappata ca niddukkha bhayappata ca nibbhaya sokappata ca nissoka Ondu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. From the highest realm of existence to the lowest, may all beings arisen from these realms, without form, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to peace, perfect peace. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, friends, you can ask me your question. I think Brian is in the next room. He is trying to read your question if you have posted them on the chat box, or if you ask question in person, then you may do so right now.
Right. So as Bhante Ji said, if you want to raise your hand, I can unmute you so that you can ask Bhante Ji a question live. In the meantime, I'm going to, or you can put your questions in the chat box. In the meantime, we got a few via email, so I'll read those. I'll start with one of those, Bhante Ji. So this one says, I attended yesterday's morning session with Bhante Ji and I have a question. Is equanimity the same as seeing things as they really are?
Yes, in a way, seeing things as they really are is a mindfulness practice. So mindfulness and equanimity go hand in hand. When you are mindful, you remain equanimous without falling into any particular bias, any particular emotions, any particular reasoning. You just becoming aware of it and let it happen. Therefore, seeing things as they really are is mindfulness. When you see things as they really are, you are equanimous. I mentioned as example yesterday, when you experience worldly states, 8 worldly vicissitudes like gain, loss, becoming famous, becoming infamous, then praise and blame, and gain the happiness and unhappiness. In all these states, these 8 states, you experience the same thing, that is, gain is impermanent, loss is impermanent, fame is impermanent, defame is impermanent, blame is impermanent, praise is impermanent, happiness impermanent, unhappiness impermanent. When you see impermanence in all of them, there is no difference whatsoever. Not one is better than the other. They all are the same. That time you have mindfulness as well as equanimity. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante Ji. I think Vic has a question for you. Go ahead, Vic.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, Bhante. My question is pertaining to samadhi. Sometimes during my practice, the sati becomes so strong that I get a sense that it stops the thoughts before they even start. And there have been times when it has also stopped intention. So like I might have thought I'll meditate for half an hour, but then I actually can't get up till maybe an hour is over. And the body feels very soft and expansive, and the mind, there is a perception of like a luminosity, and it's very peaceful. But I guess I have doubts about whether I'm doing this correctly, because can sati really stop intention and thoughts in that manner? So I wasn't sure if I'm forcing something, or is it just naturally developing and I should just be aware? So I was wondering if you could give some guidance. Thank you.
Yeah, what you said is true. Sati or mindfulness does not stop. You are always mindful in whatever state is there. You are aware of it, mindful of it. Particularly, you see very subtle, or the most subtle impermanence rising and falling in the subtlest cellular level. You feel everything. Perhaps you may even feel like atoms changing so quickly. You cannot name anything. You cannot put your finger on anything, but you feel, you experience, you know, everything is very quickly arising and passing away. You don't have a way to name it, no time to name it, no time to think of it, but you simply 100% aware of these changes. That is your sharpest, deepest mindfulness experience. So you stay with your mindfulness experience. Be mindful. You don't question yourself. Don't question anything. Be aware. Don't fall asleep. Don't get into the what you call stone Buddha type situation. You are not become vegetable. You are not vegetable. You are really mindful 100% if you experience tiniest, minutest changes taking place in your body, your feeling, whatever you notice, that is changing. So you stay with that. So there is no confusion, no doubt, no question about that. That is the pure, simple, correct mindfulness experience. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah.
I have a very practical question for you. Since starting to learn about the Dhamma, I'm at a stage now where I don't feel any grief when I hear that someone has passed away. It's like I'm learning something we already know. Sometimes I feel guilty and wonder whether people think I'm a cold-hearted person if I try to explain that it's the end of suffering for the person passing away. Similarly, now I don't feel much emotion when faced with disappointments or achievements in life. So my question is, do these feelings have anything to do with equanimity?
Yeah, you see, when you see somebody passing away, you don't have emotion, and you don't feel guilty. You see the nature of existence. Nature of existence is always changing. That means nature of existence is rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling. And therefore, when somebody passes away, of course, we know that person has lived so many years. Years is very, very long time, maybe. Even 1 year is a very long time in the face of impermanence. So if you can narrow it down to this present, very simple present moment, you don't feel guilty. The person who has lived even 100 years, that person lives moment by moment. Every moment that person lived, that person died. Similar, just like us, any moment means dying moment. This is what it is. This is called the eating the time. The one who has equanimity, mindfulness, is the one who eats the time while time is eating us. Time eats us up, and we eat the time if we remain mindful and equanimous. So time is not anything that separate from what is happening to us, around us, within us. And therefore, when this reality is such a sharp and deep, appears, or you have reached that state, you don't sorrow, lament, or feel even guilty. When somebody passes away, you know the nature, you know the truth. Once you know the truth, you have no reason to grieve or lament or sorrow, because that is the nature. So we try to reach that state through our mindfulness training. And therefore, when for instance, your friend's friend, your friend's relative, or your relatives, or your friends pass away, while other unmindful people are mourning, grieving, sorrowing, and so on, you remain equanimous and mindful without any emotional reaction. Other people might think that you are not concerned, you are not compassionate, and so forth, but you know it in your own heart, your mind, that you remain mindful and equanimous. So there is nothing wrong in that, in not having sorrow or grief. Actually, not having sorrow or grief is a blessing. That is the blessing. So this blessing comes from our deep understanding and deep awareness and deep equanimous state of mind. And therefore you don't worry about it.
Thank you, Bhante. I'm sure that was very comforting for this person. Let's see. Greg has a question for you, Bhante. Go ahead, Greg.
Hi, Bhante. Thank you for being with us today. My question is, yesterday you talked about some of the different types of equanimity. And I was wondering, so today, equanimity with the 8 worldly winds, gains and losses and things. Could you clarify if the enlightening factor equanimity, would we recognize that as being different? Is that a different type of equanimity from in front of the 8 worldly winds?
Enlightened person's equanimity and...
No, more specifically as like one of the 7 factors of enlightenment, for example, where it's talked about in the suttas as being one of the qualities that someone has. Is that type of enlightenment as a factor, is that different? Is that sort of a different, would we recognize that as feeling different than the type of equanimity you talked about today?
Now, equanimity I was talking about is impartial, non-emotional, mindful, steady state of mind. That is what we see in all equanimities that I gave various categories. In all equanimities, whether it is emotional equanimity like feeling, pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, equanimous feeling, or equanimity in Bojjhanga, the factors of enlightenment. Now the equanimity in the factors of enlightenment is the highest equanimity, because that is the equanimity you gain with the enlightened state.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Greg and Bhante Ji.
Thank you.
So let's see, the next question. Okay. So the first sentence is, I'm just going to read it as it is, Bhante Ji. It's sort of a sentence fragment. Meditators have developed equanimity doesn't mean that we allow others to walk all over us. Given the brutal social situation in India and Sri Lanka, because of the tyrant militaristic governments of both countries and the horrible uncalled for deaths and infections of the people, and especially the southeastern part of the world, would Bhante Ji please elaborate on his quote referenced here? So Bhante, he's asking, this person's asking if, for you to explain the sentence, having equanimity doesn't mean that we allow others to walk all over us.
No. That is a misunderstanding of equanimity. Now, in a very difficult situation, in addition to equanimity, you must have patience to understand the person who tries to walk over you, the person who tries to sit on your shoulders. You must try to understand that person is doing that because of that person's ignorance and maybe hate or greed, particularly ignorance. So you can use your understanding, mindfulness to teach the person Dhamma. It may not happen very quickly. When somebody all of a sudden keeps attacking you, if you are not enlightened, you certainly will get upset and disappointed, and you lose your equanimity. Don't think that you can, there's a magic in it. You have to develop it for a long period of time in order to face very difficult situation with equanimous state of mind. So equanimity doesn't happen like a magic. It is something that we have to cultivate over and over and over to meet such a person like the Buddha. The perfect example, Buddha. You know, there was a man called Akkosaka. He went and showered the abusive language on him, calling him names, accusing him for doing nothing. Buddha remained very mindful, equanimous. He did not react at all, and he saw this person's mind. The person is so confused, full of anger, and so on. Then when this person finished his abusive language, finished his vocabulary of abusive vocabulary, then Buddha asked him, Mr. Akosaka, do you have friends? He said, yes. Do you visit them occasionally? Of course, I visit them very frequently. Do you go there empty-handed? He said, no, I will take something to give them. If you give that to the person, if the person does not accept your gift, what would you do? Of course, I take it home and enjoy with my family. Similarly, Mr. Kosaka, you gave me a gift. I don't accept it. It is all yours. Take home and enjoy with your family. So, Buddha was so humorous at that time, maintained his equanimity and mindfulness, that he achieved this state through a long period of practice. So you don't expect that to happen to you all of a sudden. You have to train yourself, and finally one day you will be exactly like the Buddha. You will respond to the person in a very beautiful, pleasant, mindful way. Though when you ask if you practice equanimity like patience or metta, these are the questions people ask when we ask them to practice metta, ask them to be patient, ask them to practice equanimity, and so on. This question they ask, does it mean that let him walk over me, or let him sit on my shoulders, do anything? You cannot do as an ordinary person. You will certainly react. And therefore, I would suggest that if you want to cultivate equanimity, do it slowly, gradually, until one day you reach that perfect state of equanimity.
Thank you, Bhante. That was a wonderful example of the Buddha with the gift of anger. The next question comes from the chat box. Does one need to develop a certain amount of samadhi to have equanimity?
Sure. Oh, definitely. You see, that is why even in jhanic equanimity, you have a certain amount of concentration at the third level of jhana, third jhana. When you go to the fourth jhana, your mindfulness is perfect and pure and clean. Equanimity is perfect, pure and clean. Now, if you have not attained full enlightenment, even that equanimity you will lose until you keep it practicing and gotten rid of all your psychic irritants, human weaknesses, emotional weaknesses, and then re-practice the factors of enlightenment, mindfulness. When all these are complete, then equanimity you will have at the fourth jhana is perfect equanimity with mindfulness and concentration. Concentration is, after concentration, if the concentration is very, very good, you will gain equanimity and with mindfulness.
Thank you, Bhante. I think this is an appropriate time to start wrapping up the session.
Okay, we have 5 more minutes if anybody has to ask.
Oh, okay.
Quick question.
Okay, let me see if there's another one here. One person wants to know, what is vitaka and vichara?
Vitaka vichara, vitaka means kusala vitaka, akusala vitaka, wholesome vitaka, unwholesome vitaka. In other words, vitaka, vitara are thoughts. There are 6 kind of vitakas and 6 kind of vicharas. 3 unwholesome, 3 wholesome. 3 unwholesome is kama vitaka, vyapada vitaka, vihingsa vitaka. That is vitaka, thought of greed, thought of hatred, thought of cruelty. Unwholesome side. Wholesome side, thought of letting go, or thought of renunciation or letting go, thought of loving friendliness, metta, and thought of compassion. So these are 6 kind of vitaka, and the same thing, if sustained, maintained, perpetuate, repeat again and again, they become vichara. This is how, and these are the things that you have. Unwholesome vitaka you overcome by overcoming 5 hindrances. Wholesome vitaka you cultivate by overcoming hindrances. For instance, you overcome greed, that is one of the unwholesome vitakas. You overcome hatred, that is one of the unwholesome vitakas. You overcome thought of cruelty, that is unwholesome vitaka. Instead you have you let go of greed, that is wholesome vitaka. That happened when you practice jhana. I mention it every day in my guided meditation instructions. When your mind is calm, relaxed, peaceful, your greed does not bother you, hatred and thought of cruelty. Instead you will have metta, you have letting go, and you have feeling of compassion. This happens when you practice jhana, and these 6 are called vitaka and vichara. All other meanings that people bring up, there are no relevance to this practice. So in the Buddha's teaching, with mindfulness practicing of concentration, these are the kind of vitakas and vicharas we will develop, wholesome vitaka and wholesome vichara. Now with this, we can end this morning session, and I like to share merits, loving friendliness with everybody, as I normally usually do. So may all who are especially suffering from various sicknesses, particularly this COVID-19 that has devastated the whole world in many, many ways, and thousands of people die, maybe even 1 million, maybe more than 1 million people died because of COVID-19. And I want those who are taken care of by doctors, nurses and medical staffs in various parts of the world recover very quickly and return to their normal life and live long in very good health. And then those who take care of them, like doctors, nurses and hospital staffs and all of the medical people, paramedic and so forth, may they continue their wonderful service without themselves being affected by this COVID-19. particularly they are taking risk. Many people very compassionately help people, and some of them even get affected because of this nasty virus. And may they not have any such adverse effect and continue their service with wonderful health and live long in good health. And there are people who have lost their relatives and friends who are mourning, and I hope they understand Dhamma, practice Dhamma, mindfulness, meditation, understand the nature of life, and overcome their grief and return to normal life to continue their wonderful practice. And then there are people who have helped in many other ways, financially and materially, to discover this COVID, vaccination, and they are wonderful people. We must be grateful to them for getting this vaccination into the society, and people are vaccinated, and there are millions of people who already have got vaccination and recovered and immune to this virus. We must wish them peace and happiness for bringing this to the society and making people healthy. And there are others, leaders. Even though things are available, some leaders don't use their wisdom, compassion, understanding to make it available to people very quickly. And those leaders who have taken steps in that direction, they are very compassionate people. We want to wish them live long in good health and continue their wonderful, marvelous service. And those leaders who have lagging behind and have not made the decision to get this vaccination to their people, may they have wisdom to understand this and to start this right away and continue to do that. In short, I want to wish all peace, happiness, and healthy life, live long in good health. Thank you for coming and encouraging us. Please spread this word around you, around your friends, around people, and encourage them to practice Dhamma, practice meditation, and practice compassion. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Baba. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.